let's talk this brand new 2026 BMW R12 GS first model year, and it was released in Q3 of 2025, so about 2 months ago, and it's supposed to be a throwback to the original adventure bike from BMW released in the 80s called BMW R80 GS. Now, what do these letters even mean? R, number, GS. I've already made an extensive video on this. Go watch the R1250 GS video I made. But essentially what these mean is when you see an R in a BMW's motorcycle name, that means it's got a flat twin or boxer twin engine. And if you see the numbers, that's the whereabouts of where the CCs of the motorcycle is going to be. So this motorcycle probably has this engine that's close to about 1,200 CCs. And GS is short for Gelände Straße, which is German for off-road street, which means their motorcycles, of course, are street bikes. You can use them on the street, but you can also take them off-roading. But other than the engine and a vague design, this motorcycle and the original BMW R80 GS share pretty much nothing else. Price-wise, electronically, this motorcycle is far more advanced, of course, 40 years later. And this bike having a base MSRP of $17,000 is already out of reach for a lot of people, but this particular bike you're seeing on your screen, it has a couple of options added to it, totaling to 22,000 US pesos, $5,000 worth of equipment on this particular bike, and we're gonna go over all of that. So let's do this today. Let's go wheel to wheel and everything in between on this brand new 2026 BMW R12 GS option 719 and see for about 22K what you're expecting to get from BMW in 2026. Then we're gonna get on it, go out there, ride this motorcycle and put all of that technology to test, and then I'm gonna quantify my thoughts. Compare this motorcycle to all the other bikes I have reviewed, especially the other BMW motorcycles and competitors of this particular motorcycle, and I'm gonna give it the Emmy score. Are you ready? Let's go. Let's start off by talking about what's powering this motorcycle. And over here you have a 1,170cc boxer twin engine that makes about 109 horsepower and about 85 foot-pounds of torque, and it is air/oil cooled. I don't come across motorcycles that are oil cooled anymore that often, but this one is. You can see the radiator up there with the hose that pumps the oil through. So that's how this motorcycle is cooled down. And of course, it's a boxer engine, so the engine sticks out about a foot on either side of the motorcycle, which allows it to be air cooled because it's bombarded by the incoming air as you're riding down the street. So it works out pretty fine for it. And of course, the oil cooling system supplements the air cooling. The thing with this engine is it has pros and cons. The pros is that if you do choose to lay the motorcycle down, either intentionally or you go down in a crash, the motorcycle does not lay flat on the ground, which is one of the upsides of this motorcycle. It kind of gets propped up at a 45-degree angle, which makes lifting the motorcycle back up a little easier, especially at the weight point of this motorcycle being a little over 500 pounds wet. It's important for the motorcycle to be liftable because you're going to be out there adventuring out in the middle of nowhere. There's nobody to help you, and you need to get your motorcycle back up to ride it. And so this is a good method of picking the bike back up because it never lays flat. But the downside is, of course, it's being propped up by the engine, the most sensitive and expensive part of this motorcycle, which is why mostly when BMW owners get a boxer twin engine of any kind, whether it's on a street bike or an adventure bike, they usually go ahead and put those engine guards on them. They come in different colors and different finishes, matte, glossy, all kinds of colors. So I'm sure you're going to come across something that works really well with the paint on this motorcycle. Now, what about the competitors in this segment? If you are looking for a motorcycle, a scrambler, off-roading motorcycle like this, you're probably looking at some of its rivals. I have made a table and I'm going to put it up on the screen with graphs to help you understand some of the attributes of this motorcycle as opposed to its rivals. First and foremost, horsepower. So as I said, this motorcycle makes about 109 horsepower. But what about the Triumph Scrambler 1200, for example? That makes 89 horsepower. What about Ducati Scrambler 1100? That makes 86 horsepower. But the one that makes the most horsepower is the Indian FTR 1200, which makes about 111 horsepower, and that makes sense because that motorcycle has a larger displacement. That's a 1,203 horsepower displacement engine as opposed to this one being 1,170. And as far as the torque goes, the highest torque making machine is this one at 85, and the next one is your Triumph Scrambler at 81 foot-pounds of torque, and Indian FTR at 80, and the least horsepower torque making motorcycle is the Ducati Scrambler. So that's the horsepower. That's the torque value. And it's connected to a 6-speed manual transmission that also comes with a quick shifter on this motorcycle. It's equipped, but I'm sure it's an option. BMW does not give you everything right off the bat at that $17,000 MSRP. You have to pay extra for it, of course. But how does this motorcycle sound is probably one of its biggest upsides, because the vibration and the sound of this Boxer Twin is pretty much why people chase this engine type. So let's take a listen to how the 2026 BMW R12 GS sounds. Let's move up here and talk about hardware, what you are getting on this motorcycle. Starting with this massive 21-inch spoked wheel, looks very off-road military-esque, especially combined with this tan color on this particular model. Looks fantastic. And you get dual 310mm Brembo calipers. They work awesome, and they really pronounce how much movement these suspensions have. These Marzocchi upside down front suspensions do have over 8 inches of travel. Fantastic for an off-roading machine, but of course it gives you that little bit of wobble when you're out on the street, which is part of the charm. Oh, and by the way, the brakes do have ABS and traction control, which do get eliminated. They get disabled when you put this motorcycle on the Enduro Pro mode, which is one of the 4 or 5 drive modes on this motorcycle. You have rain, road, Enduro, and Enduro Pro, which means you're gonna go off-roading. You're gonna be on gravel or dirt, so it disables traction control and ABS for you. But anyways, it has those things if you're not off-roading. And moving up from all of this hardware, you're gonna get to a steering dampener, which is right over here. I didn't know it's really needed for an off-road vehicle to have one of these steering dampeners. I thought it's an exclusive tool to super sport motorcycles, because you go super fast, the front keeps lifting up, and if you put that wheel back down, coming out of a wheelie, you put that wheel back down at an angle, it does an oscillation, the tank slapper. But I guess it does it on these motorcycles too, because the front is pretty light. The tire is relatively thin and light. There isn't much fairing or frame going on up here, so it's light. Perhaps it does that tank slapper on these types of motorcycles too, but again, it's one of those things that having them is better than not having them, and you get one up here. Moving up from the steering dampener, you're gonna get to the front cluster and the headlight, and the headlights are adaptive, meaning there are 2 LEDs to the sides of the headlight that are not working unless you are going above 6 miles an hour and you're in a lean, you're turning, and corresponding to your turn, these LED lights turn on to provide just a little bit of added light and illuminate the path you're taking in your turn. Now let's move back here and talk about some of the components. There is another product from Marzocchi here, and that's your rear suspension, a top of the line fully adjustable one. The compression knob is down here in this yellow label, and you have your preload and damping up here. Your damping is pretty easy to adjust. It's one of those on the go hand tighten or loosen knobs, softening or hardening your suspension. I see more and more motorcycles adopting this practice, and I love that. But your damping is a pain in the butt to adjust. You really need a long and thin screwdriver, a flathead screwdriver that can reach that little screw down there, and that's your damping adjustment. But easy or hard to access, it's there and available for you to adjust. Now let's move up here and talk about the dash cluster and some of the creature comfort features provided to you and some of the design choices made up here, starting with the lack of TFT screen, which I kind of am starting to like more and more on modern motorcycles. There is no need for those giant 7, 8, 10-inch full color TFT screens that are a distraction. They're providing all kinds of information you don't even use 90% of. There is like a movie on startup and a movie when you shut the motorcycle down. You don't really need any of those, especially on motorcycles like this that are designed to be throwbacks to older bikes. Absolutely, it's a no-no to use any of those advanced visual technological features. On this motorcycle, you just have a simple gauge, a dial. We are cutting back on the number of information displayed here a little too much because, for example, you don't know how much gas you have in this motorcycle. That's a big problem for an adventure motorcycle because if you don't know how much gas precisely is left in your tank, you're not going to be able to really plan for the next fuel stop. If those fuel stops are, tens or hundreds of miles apart from each other, it's going to really pose an issue here, especially combined with a relatively small gas tank on this bike. I was surprised to learn that it's only a 4.1 gallon gas tank. Some super sport motorcycles whose job is simply to go around a circular track over and over and over, and every gas station is essentially 0.2 miles away from your bike, they have a larger gas tank than this adventure motorcycle. So you're probably gonna end up carrying some jerry cans on this motorcycle. 4.1 gallons, even at 40 miles a gallon, is not gonna really take you far adventuring. So that's one of my only criticism, combined with the fact that there is no fuel gauge on this motorcycle. These are two of my criticisms up here. But anyways, starting from the left of the dash cluster, you guys' left, my right, you're gonna see a USB 8, which you can plug in your devices that you put on this OEM provided device mount. You can mount your iPad, iPhone, GPS, whatever it is, to this OEM provided mount and plug it in here to charge it on the go. And starting on the left handlebar, you're gonna first come across this Rizoma looking clutch lever. It's a CNC machined, really high-end looking brake and clutch lever. And these are both provided as part of that option 719. This option 719 is primarily just a visual option added to your motorcycle. It's all these CNC machined like reservoir lids and the brake calipers, brake levers, as well as the engine covers. You're gonna see it here and there, and I'm gonna show you on the screen some of the things that option 719 offers you. But that's a pretty cool looking clutch and brake lever, and they're both adjustable via these tiny little levers on them. You can adjust how far away they sit from your handlebars. That's pretty cool. But as far as the electronics go, on that side you have grip warmers, 3 settings, and you have a cruise control you can use, which are pretty awesome options even on an off-road machine like this, where you're supposed to endure hardship and not creature comforts like that. It's not a tourer bike, but you have them on this motorcycle, and they're of course not included in the base price. These are the things that increase the price point of this motorcycle by $5,000. But anyways, and moving on to the other handlebar, you're gonna come across the SOS button, which is kind of a BMW exclusive thing. I haven't really seen it on any other brand. If your motorcycle is of a different brand and it has one, let me know in the comment section. But you pretty much flip open the lid and there is a red button. You push that and it automatically calls service centers. I'm sure this is not free, and there is probably a subscription somewhere. You need to pay some dollars a month or something to be able to, of course, use this feature, but the hardware is installed. Now, this motorcycle is keyless, but you might be fooled by this keyhole that's up here that, oh, it's not keyless, but it is. That hole up there is just to lock the steering. Here's the key fob, actually. It's in my pocket right here. That's the key to this motorcycle. It is keyless, and in order to start up the motorcycle, you just need to be in the vicinity of the bike with the key, and you press this power button and you turn on the motorcycle. It's just like that. You also have the mode button right underneath the power button. That is to switch through the modes. I love that it's not something you have to go into the screen to pick. There is a physical button for it, and I love it. You press that, you go rain, road, enduro, enduro pro. And these modes obviously play with your engine, braking control, your traction control, and your ABS. They modulate those parameters to create different riding styles for different environments you're in. I do have a little bit of criticism here, a little bit of venting about this keyless go, and that's the fact that if you lose it, you're out of luck. Let's say you're hundreds of miles away from home and you're in the middle of the desert, nobody's around to help you, and you lose this key. There is absolutely no backup way of starting this motorcycle up unless you have the backup key also on you, which is this puny little 3D printed looking plastic key, very brittle. And that one has that little GPS unit in it, the circuit unit in it, and you can stick it up underneath the seat of the motorcycle, and the motorcycle recognizes you and it comes to life. But if you don't have that on you and you lose this one, you can't restart this motorcycle back up. In contrast with the system on this motorcycle, you have Ducati. For the last 15 years, they've been using their keyless go system on the Diavel and on the Multistrada. Even though I generally don't like Ducatis, This is the one thing that I love about them, is that if you lose your key, there is a 4-digit password you can put in the screen of the motorcycle. They didn't even have TFT screens back there, so the fact that this one doesn't have it and they didn't have it, it's a plain field, level playing field here. The BMW still could use this LCD screen down here to allow you to input a 4-digit code, and if you do that right, you should be able to turn the motorcycle on and go home, even if you lose this. But that's not the case here. If you lose this, you are stranded. So that's criticism 1. Criticism 2 is you still need this key, the metal portion of it, the actual key part, to get fuel or lock the steering wheel, which again, what kind of keyless go would that be if you must have the key for all the normal operations of this motorcycle? The only thing it helps you is just starting the bike up doesn't require the key. So I think this system could be improved upon. There are other motorcycle manufacturers that do this better, and BMW, if you're looking at this video, this is the one area you really need to strengthen your motorcycles in. This motorcycle also comes with the hill start assist, which means if you squeeze the front brake hard enough, it's gonna hold your motorcycle on an inclination unless you accelerate hard enough, and then it releases that brake for you and you can go up the hill. This is to prevent rollback of the motorcycle during that time where you're holding the clutch in and that disengages the engine and you start rolling back. That stops it from happening, which is a good addition. This motorcycle also has TPMS, or tire pressure monitoring system, which I think all motorcycles should have. It prevents you from being surprised by a flat tire. Ahead of time, you can see the pressure of the tire is decreasing, and you can pre-plan for it. Pull into a maintenance shop or not go on a trip you were planning on going because your tire is deflated. It's better than to be way away from home and all of a sudden seeing that you have absolutely no air in your tire due to the weird handling of the motorcycle. This one shows rear and front tire pressures on the screen. Now let's move back here and talk about the seat on this motorcycle. In my videos, I always remove the seat to show you guys how much space there is under the seat for storage purposes. On this motorcycle, you can't remove the seat easily at all. In fact, to remove the seat, you got to go over here to this plastic panel. You got to peel it off. On the back of it, there is a Torx wrench. You got to grab that. You got to remove this panel and the other panel equivalent to it on the other side. Once you do that, you're going to have to unscrew 3 bolts from the seat, and only then can you remove it. And I'm pretty sure there's not going to be any storage space down there. But the question would be, okay, what if I have a dead battery? How can I reach this battery? And BMW knows what a pain in the ass it is to remove the seat, so they have given you the battery terminals externally. There is this plus sign up here. This is a cover. You remove this plastic piece. Here's your positive end of the battery, and your negative end of the battery is on the engine casing. It's right here. This nub that's sticking out here, that's your negative, and this is your positive. Just gotta make sure you don't touch both of these at the same time. And with all of that out of the way, I think you and I are ready to take this motorcycle out on the road and give it a try. But before we do that, a huge shout out to BMW Motorrad of Seattle, my local BMW dealer, who allowed us to get on this motorcycle, go out there, test it, and show you guys all the functions and features on this motorcycle. A huge shout out to them. I'm gonna leave a link to this motorcycle and to the dealership in the description section of this video. Go check it out. There are some good deals on the bikes they have on the floor, especially this one is a demo unit. So come check it out if you live locally. And if you don't live locally, know that there is a good discount placed on this motorcycle just because it's a demo. It's your perfect chance to get one of these motorcycles under the MSRP. And with all of that, let's go. I forgot to tell you guys in the video, but I guess this is part of the video still. So this is pretty tall. This seat, I believe, is close to 34 inches. I'm going to put it on the screen. If you are under 6 feet tall, like I am, this may not be the most comfortable bike. After all, it is an adventure bike, and adventure bikes all have the reputation for being tall. This one is no exception. It's definitely tall. I have to tiptoe it when I come to a stop, which is uncomfortable. But anyways, no need to get the key out of our pocket. Okay. Kickstand up, power button pressed, the bike comes to life. BMW, a little bit of animation here. Motorrad. There you go. This is right now in rain mode. We can switch it to go into road, enduro, and enduro pro. Let's put it on road. Ha! That vibration. I mean, just look at it. Look at how much it vibrates. I love this Boxer twin engine. All right, let's go. the cool down sequence, the warm-up sequence is done on this motorcycle, and now the RPM has substantially subsided down. Okay. Nice, nice. Let's see if we can do the roll assist. If I press this hard enough. Oh, it still goes back. I don't know. Oh, there you go. Ha! It did stop us from rolling back. That's kind of nice. That's that hill assist. Oh, there we go. Wow, nice. Nice acceleration. A pretty decent quick shifter. BMW's quick shifters are always a little clunky, and apparently it's year 2026 and they haven't really fixed it yet. It's not smooth. It's like metal is rubbing on metal. I don't know how to describe it. It's a pretty clunky system, but it works, and I'm sure it's working as intended, so it's not like hurting the motorcycle or anything. But yeah. Woo! You can easily stand up. Let's see if we turn these lights come on. No, I don't see the LEDs coming on. Anyways. Pretty sweet, pretty sweet. Okay, let's try cruise control. Cruise control is on reserve mode. This is completely off, this is on, and then cruise control is now on. So it's managing about 30 miles an hour right now. Let's see what happens if I downshift. Okay, so the RPM went up. So when you downshift, the RPM goes up to maintain that 30 mile an hour. So it is kind of like that smart-ish cruise control, where it's not as smart as knowing your distance from the car in the front and brake. It's not adaptive, what I'm trying to say, but it is smart that it doesn't get thrown off by changing gear. I mean, I guess that's pretty awesome, right? That's pretty good. Imagine every time you change gear, your cruise control completely got thrown off and disconnected. That's awesome. Let's turn off cruise control. Grip heater. Let's put grip heater on 3. And I'll tell you when I start feeling that it's getting warm. Nothing yet. Nothing yet. Still nothing. Still nothing. Haven't felt anything. Is it on? Should be on. Let's take one off. Oh, now I'm feeling it. Okay, well, it took about a 40-50 seconds for it to kind of kick in. Okay, so that's good. What else? Let's check the brake. Nice. Brake is good. There's also another plug up here. I can't figure out what it is, what kind of connection it is. Do you guys recognize? Is that some BMW proprietary kind of plug for their GPS or something? It's over there, so I don't know. You guys tell me. Yeah, so option 719 has these 2 reservoir covers, the handbrake levers and clutch levers. These engine casings on our 2 on either side are option 719 CNC machined, and so is the oil cap down here. I don't know if you can see it. That one also is 719 instead of being cheap plastic. The bike handles fantastic, okay? There's no doubt in that. If you're tall enough, 6 feet and above, you're gonna have a blast on this motorcycle. I don't know how off-roadable it is. I mean, it has the things that are good, that a good off-road motorcycle should have. It has a really fantastic the suspension, brakes are awesome, the tires match the profile of the bike and the mission it's designed for. Everything's great. Everything's fantastic. The only complaint, small gas tank, and the keyless go being more of a stress factor for me than something that keeps my peace of mind and my sanity. It's gonna drive me insane knowing if I lose that, it's all over. Otherwise, it's a gorgeous bike. There is absolutely no doubt it's a fantastically beautiful bike. And if you can find a good deal, I would snatch one of these off the shelf ASAP. But if you're not getting a good deal, don't get it. Awesome. Well, let's go to the ME score. And now onto the ME score for the 2026 BMW R12 GS. In the commuter category, you get all LED lights and an adaptive headlight for better visibility, ABS, hill roll assist, TPMS, SOS button, cruise control, USB plug, ride modes, phone connectivity app, and an OEM phone mount. It would have gotten a 10 out of 10 if it also had a large gas tank and a fuel gauge to go with that. As for pricing, this bike is relatively expensive at an MSRP of $16,995. But as seen, this bike is around $22,000, which is even worse. The competitors are not any cheaper either. Triumph Scrambler 1200 is around $16,200, Ducati Scrambler 1100 is $15,500, and Indian FTR is about $15,000. Speaking of reliability and parts and labor availability, BMW is really the only non-Japanese motorcycle that is also famous for its great long-term reliability combined with their vast dealership network, making this bike a great commuter option. The R12 GS gets 17 out of 20. Now onto the performance/dope factor category. The R12 GS is equipped with traction control, premium adjustable front and rear Marzocchi suspensions and Brembo brakes, quick shifter, and dynamic engine brake control. It weighs 505 pounds wet, which is the second heaviest motorcycle on our list, following the Triumph Scrambler at 507 pounds. At 109 horsepower at the crank and about 85 foot-pounds of torque, it is amongst the best of its class. If you have more accurate dyno numbers, let us know in the comments. As for the design choices at Marketplace, I love the looks, especially in this aragonite tan color, giving the bike a very utility look. There's also the plain white livery and the matte black options to choose from. Overall, I think BMW has nailed the retro look here. Fit and finish is amazing as always, and I expect nothing less from BMW. This bike, however, is not a special edition or limited production motorcycle. You can pretty much walk into any BMW dealer and buy one of these. The R12 GS gets a 14 out of 20 for the overall performance and dope factor category, and it sits here on the list of other adventure bikes I have reviewed. The 2026 BMW R12 GS is expensive, but it balances technology, usability, and design better than most of its rivals. It's not groundbreaking, but it is a refined, reliable, and stylish option in the retro adventure category, a bike that handles commuting duties while still delivering plenty of weekend fun. But without a proper engine crash bar, sufficient storage solution, and some jerry cans, I would not recommend taking this bike for long haul, off the grid adventuring. Thanks for watching.